She didn't just leave. She escaped. She escaped the suffocating pressure of your need, the constant, silent demand for validation that you masked as affection. You thought your relentless attention was a sign of love, but to her, it felt like a cage. Every text message asking where she was, every hint of jealousy over a friend, every desperate "I love you" that was really a plea for her to say it back. Each one was another bar on that cage. She didn't fall out of love with you. She was repelled by you. Repelled by the weakness you projected, the terrifying emptiness you expected her to fill. The paradox you failed to understand is that the harder you try to possess a woman, the more you kill the very desire you seek to own. Your desperation became a poison, and she instinctively fled to save herself from it. You weren't a partner. You had become a project, a burden. She didn't dismantle you piece by piece when she left. No. You handed her the tools and the blueprints long before that. You did it that night, sitting in the dark, the blue light of her phone illuminating your face, your heart pounding in your chest, a cold sweat on your brow. You weren't looking for evidence of another man. You were looking for something far more terrifying. Evidence of her indifference. And you found it. Not in a passionate message to a secret lover, but in a simple, casual text to a friend. Feeling so much better lately. Finally have room to breathe. Room to breathe. The words hit you like a physical blow. She wasn't just surviving without you. She was thriving in the small pockets of space she could carve away from your suffocating presence. In that moment, you weren't her man. You were the thing she needed to get better from. You were the sickness. As you sat there, drowning in the shame of your own weakness, a cold, hard truth from the Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius should have echoed in your mind, not as a comfort, but as a command. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You had no power over her phone, her feelings, or her freedom. Your only domain of control was the chaotic, needy monologue inside your own skull. But you abdicated that throne. You gave her the power over your emotional state, and in doing so, you proved you were unworthy of both her respect and her desire. A woman cannot desire a man she does not respect, and she cannot respect a man who does not respect himself enough to control his own inner world. This isn't about healing a broken heart. This is about understanding the brutal mechanics of power and attraction. It's about recognizing that your emotional neediness is the single most potent repellent to female desire. It signals that your own life, your own purpose, your own mission is so hollow that you need her to be your entire world. And no woman wants to be a man's entire world. She wants to be a welcome, cherished guest in a world he has already built, a world that is exciting, compelling, and will continue to exist with or without her. Your fatal error was tearing down your own empire to build a shrine to her, only to discover she was attracted to the emperor, not the worshipper. The great reversal, the ultimate act of power, isn't about chasing her. It's about making her chase the man you become in her absence. It's about building a life so complete, so disciplined, so focused on your own ascent that your indifference becomes the most magnetic force she has ever felt. The question isn't how to get her back. The question is, can you forge yourself into the man she is terrified to lose, knowing that you have built a life you are no longer willing to sacrifice for anyone? That is the gambit we will explore today. If this cold, hard truth resonates in the pit of your stomach, if you recognize the ghost of your own mistakes in this story, then you have found your command center. This is not a place for consolation. It is a war room for the mind. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion and activate all notifications because you cannot afford to miss a single transmission. Strike the like button to signal your commitment to this new discipline. And in the comments below, I demand to know two things. What city and country are you watching from? I want to see the map of our new empire. And tell me, what was the moment you realized you had lost all power? We will take that moment of shame and forge it into the foundation of your new throne. Let's perform the autopsy. Not on the relationship, that's already cold on the table. We are here to perform the autopsy on your authority. We need to identify the exact moment the poison was introduced. the precise incision where your power began to bleed out, drop by drop, until you were left an empty vessel. You think it was a single, catastrophic event, a final argument, a revelation. You are wrong. Your defeat was a campaign, a war of attrition waged in silence, and you lost every single battle without even realizing you were on the field. The first phase of your surrender was emotional concession. It began subtly. She tested you. It wasn't a direct challenge. It was a probe, a soft push against your frame to see if it would hold. She said, "I don't really like it when you go out with those friends. They're a bad influence." Or maybe, "You spend so much time on that project, do you even care about me?" Your mistake wasn't hearing her. It was how you reacted. Instead of standing firm in your own world, calmly asserting your boundaries and the importance of your own pursuits, you flinched. You saw it as a choice between your life and her happiness, and you chose her. You apologized. You canceled plans. You started carving off pieces of yourself to appease her, thinking it was a noble sacrifice for love. It was not. It was the first payment in a debt you could never repay. She tested. You yielded. She won. Small, seemingly insignificant concession was the first signal you sent that her emotional state was more important than your own sovereignty. You handed her the remote control to your life, and she learned very quickly which buttons to press. From there, you entered the second phase, the loss of control. Having established that her disapproval could alter your behavior, the battlefield expanded. Your time was no longer your own. Your decisions were no longer your own. You began to preemptively manage her emotions. Before making any plan, a voice in your head would ask, "What will she think of this?" You stopped pursuing hobbies that didn't include her. You distanced yourself from people she didn't approve of. Your world, once a sprawling empire of your own interests and ambitions, shrank to the size of her approval. This wasn't a conscious strategy on her part. It was an instinctual response to your weakness. Power, like nature, abhors a vacuum. As you abdicated your own throne, she simply occupied the empty seat. You thought you were creating harmony. In reality, you were erasing yourself from the equation. At work, this is the man who stops speaking up in meetings because a dominant colleague once shot down his idea. In friendships, it's the man who always goes along with the group's plan, never daring to suggest his own, for fear of rejection. The mechanism is identical. A surrender of agency for the illusion of acceptance. This led directly to the third and most pathetic phase, the relentless search for validation. Because you had no internal source of strength left, you needed it from her. Your "I love you" was no longer a statement of fact. It became a question, desperate for a specific answer. Your gestures were not born of genuine affection, but of a transactional need for reassurance. You were a beggar, constantly checking her face, her tone, her response times for clues about your own worth. The question, "Are we okay?" became your mantra. The single most unattractive question a man can ask a woman. It communicates in no uncertain terms that your emotional stability is entirely in her hands, that you are a ship without a rudder, tossed about by the waves of her mood. You were looking for a savior, not a partner. And a woman is drawn to a lighthouse, a fixed point of strength in a storm, not another drowning man clinging to her for survival. No one is coming to save you. You were meant to be your own salvation. Then came the fourth stage, complete affective dependency. You were now an addict, and her attention was your drug. A text message from her could light up your entire day. Her silence could plunge you into a spiral of anxiety and despair. You'd stare at your phone, watching the minutes tick by since your last message was delivered, your stomach twisting into knots. Silence wasn't an accident. It wasn't because she was busy. Her silence is dominance, not inattention. In that space you filled with your own panic, she was exercising absolute control. She knew that by withholding her attention, she could command yours completely. You would replay your last conversation, searching for the mistake you must have made. You would craft a dozen different follow-up texts, each more pathetic than the last. You had given her the power not just to make you happy, but to utterly destroy your peace of mind at will. You were no longer a participant in the relationship. You were its prisoner. The final humiliating act was the breaking of the silence. After hours or days of this calculated neglect, you couldn't take it anymore. You broke. You sent the flood of messages. You made the frantic phone call. You showed up unannounced, and in that moment, begged. You may have begged for an explanation, for a conversation, or even for forgiveness for a crime you didn't even commit. It doesn't matter what you said. The act of begging itself was the final signature on your terms of surrender. When you begged for forgiveness, you signed your rendition. You proved that your need for her validation was greater than your own self-respect. You demonstrated, beyond any doubt, that you could not survive without her. In that moment, any lingering spark of attraction she might have felt for you was extinguished and replaced by a mixture of pity and contempt. She had won the war, and your prize was to watch her walk away, not with anger or sadness, but with the quiet relief of someone escaping a prison. You might be telling yourself now, but I was just being a good guy. I was compromising, being vulnerable, communicating my feelings. Let's dismantle these lies right now. You weren't compromising, you were capitulating. Compromise happens between two sovereign powers who meet in the middle. Capitulation is when one power unilaterally disarms to appease the other. You weren't being vulnerable, you were being needy. Vulnerability is the strength to show a healed scar to a trusted equal. Neediness is showing a gaping, bleeding wound and begging a superior to fix it. And you weren't communicating your feelings, you were vomiting your anxieties. A woman wants to feel the controlled, disciplined, emotional core of a man who has his inner world under command. She does not want to be the janitor for his unfiltered emotional chaos. He tested you, and you failed. Fall is never visible. It doesn't happen in a shouting match. It happens in the silence. It happens in the microsecond of hesitation before you defend your point of view. It happens when you say yes to something you know you should say no to, simply to avoid a ripple in the water. It happens every time you check her social media, looking for a clue. Each of these is a silent concession, a quiet death of your own sovereignty. You have sat through the diagnosis of your own failure. The question now is whether you have the courage to undertake the cure. The path forward is not about winning her back. It is about rebuilding the empire you allowed to crumble. If you are ready to stop being the patient and start being the surgeon, then this is your operating theater. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion and activate every single notification, because each transmission is a critical instrument for your recovery. Solidify your commitment by striking the like button. And in the comments, I want you to answer this, without excuse or justification. What was the one small concession you made that you now realize was the beginning of your surrender? Acknowledge the first crack in your own foundation. First step to reclaiming your power is to diagnose, with brutal honesty, exactly how you gave it away. Let us be brutally clear. There is no return path for the man you were. That man is a casualty, dead on a battlefield of his own making. He died not from a single blow, but from 1,000 self-inflicted cuts of weakness. We are not here to perform a resurrection. We are here to scavenge the wreckage and build a new war machine from the scrap. There is no going back for the weak. There is only the construction of the new. This is not a process of healing. Healing is for the wounded. You are to become the weapon. This is a tactical reconstruction, executed with the cold, dispassionate precision of a military operation. Your emotions are not your guide. They are the enemy's propaganda, a fifth column within your own mind that must be starved, isolated, and silenced. Your new gospel is a three-part command. Cut the excess. Install the silence. Control the reaction. The first command is to cut the excess. This is the scorched earth phase of your campaign. You will sever all lines of communication immediately and without warning. This is not the petulant silence of a child hoping to be coaxed back. This is the strategic silence of a submarine disappearing from sonar, leaving nothing on the surface but cold, empty water. You will block her number. You will delete the contact itself, erasing the digital ghost that haunts your phone. You will remove her from every social media platform, and more importantly, you will remove yourself from any platform where you might be tempted to commit the self-sabotage of viewing her life. You are creating an information vacuum. Her power over you was fueled by the constant stream of data you provided and consumed. You are cutting her supply line. Every picture you see of her is a bullet you willingly take. Every message you read is poison you drink, hoping she will die. You will starve yourself of this poison until the addiction is broken, and the memory of its taste is nothing but a faint, pathetic echo. Second command is to install the silence. This is where you learn that silence is not an absence of communication. It is the most powerful form of it. Don't reconquer. Replace with a sharper silence. Your previous state was one of constant noise, pleading texts, anxious calls, desperate questions that reeked of weakness. Now, you will impose a silence so absolute, so profound, that it becomes a deafening roar in her mind. She is used to your predictable orbit, the reassuring gravity of your neediness. By disappearing, you shatter her reality. You remove yourself from her equation entirely. At first, she will assume it is a tactic, a game. She will wait for you to break. Will not. Days will turn into weeks. Her certainty will curdle into confusion. She will wonder if you are angry. Then she will wonder if you are hurt. Finally, and most importantly, she will begin to wonder if you ever cared at all. This uncertainty is the seed of obsession. While you were obsessed with her, you were predictable and therefore controllable. By becoming a black hole, a complete unknown, you transfer that obsession to her. You are no longer the one checking your phone, she is. A man who wants to be loved will be discarded. A man who imposes his presence will be feared, but a man who imposes his absence will be obsessed over. The third command, and the most difficult, is to control the reaction. The Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius, a man who commanded legions and ruled the known world, understood that true power was internal. He wrote in his private journal, "The first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are." Your untroubled spirit is your primary objective, because she will inevitably attempt to breach your silence. The probes. Sonar pings sent into the abyss to see if the old weak man is still there. A text message will appear. "Hey, just thinking of you." Or, "Are you okay? I'm worried." You must look these things in the face and know them for what they are. They are not expressions of concern. They are a summons. She is calling for her servant to see if he still answers. The desperate man inside you, the addict craving his drug, will scream to reply. You will chain that man in the dungeon of your mind and let him starve. To not respond is to dominate. It is a declaration that you are no longer operating on her timeline or by her rule. You are not ignoring her. You are simply occupied with more important matters. You are busy building an empire. And that is the ultimate objective of this strategic withdrawal. The silence is not an end in itself. It is the necessary condition to create the space for your true work. The complete and total reconstruction of your own value. Your energy, once hemorrhaged in a pathetic stream of neediness, will now be redirected with the force of a laser into 4 pillars of masculine power. This is not a hope. It is a blueprint. The first pillar is financial hierarchy. You will become a monster in your profession or business. The hours you spent agonizing over her texts, replaying conversations, and staring at a blank screen will now be spent on strategy, execution, and wealth creation. You will become ruthless in your pursuit of professional excellence. Money is not just currency. It is a symbolic representation of competence and power in the modern world. It is freedom. It is options. It is the language of success that everyone understands. You will work until your bank account becomes an undeniable testament to your discipline and focus. The second pillar is physical hierarchy. You will go to war with your body. The gym becomes your forge. Every drop of sweat is you melting down the weak, soft man and recasting him in iron. You will lift, run, and fight until the man in the mirror is someone she would not recognize, and more importantly, someone you fundamentally respect. This is not for her attraction. This is for your own sense of domination over the physical self. It is a visible manifestation of your internal discipline. Your body is your armor and your vessel in this world. You will make it formidable. The third pillar is social hierarchy. You will rebuild your social world, not as an escape, but as a network of power. You will cut ties with any friends who enabled your weakness. You will reconnect with strong, ambitious men who push you to be better. You will cultivate a life so rich, so engaging, so filled with purpose and adventure, that she would have been, at best, a minor character in it. Your social media, if you choose to use it at all, will not be a gallery of passive-aggressive quotes or lonely landscapes. It will be the quiet, confident evidence of a life in ascent, a life she is no longer a part of, a world she has no access to. The fourth pillar is symbolic hierarchy. You will acquire a skill that commands respect and demonstrates depth. Learn a language, master a musical instrument, become a skilled public speaker. Read the great works of strategy, philosophy, and history, from Sun Tzu to Machiavelli to Aurelius himself. You will cultivate your mind into a fortress, a place of unshakable calm and strategic brilliance. You are building internal status, a core of competence that no one can ever take from you. This is the gambit. You are not playing to get her back. You are playing to make her irrelevant. And here lies the supreme paradox of power and desire, a truth so potent it governs all human interaction. By making her irrelevant, you become the most relevant thing in her world. She left a man who needed her to be his world. She will witness, from a distance, the rise of a man who has built his own world, a world that is thriving in her absence. You will see your silence not as weakness, but as incomprehensible strength. She will see your progress not as a cry for help, but as a declaration of independence. Her initial relief at escaping you will curdle into confusion, then into anxiety, and finally into fear. The fear of having made the biggest mistake of her life. The hunter becomes the hunted. You feel the cold fire of this logic burning away your weakness. Then your indoctrination has begun. Not a channel. It is an arsenal. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion and arm yourself. Activate all notifications because every broadcast is a weapon you will need. Strike the like button to confirm you have received this transmission. Now, you have a choice to make. The weak man you are killing off was defined by his unfocused, desperate energy. The new man you are building is defined by his singular, ruthless focus. In the comments below, declare your primary target. Which pillar of power will receive the full force of your redirected energy first? Your finances, your physique, or your social empire? Choose one. Declare it. Make it real. Your war begins with that single word. Understand this. The goal is not for her to text you. The goal is to reach a state of such internal power that when she inevitably does, you feel nothing but a mild curiosity, as if observing a ghost from a past life. The ultimate victory is not her return, but your own profound indifference to it. You are not trying to win back a queen for your empty kingdom. You are building an empire so vast and powerful that you can choose from 1,000 queens, or choose none at all, and your sense of self-worth will remain unchanged. You must forge yourself into the man she is terrified to lose, while simultaneously building a life you are no longer willing to sacrifice for anyone. Be an absence that weighs heavily, not a presence that begs. The throne you seek is not next to her. It has always been within you, and it is waiting for you to claim it. And so, the signal comes. Not with a thunderclap, but with a quiet vibration in your pocket. It is her name on your screen, a ghost from a life you have already buried. The message is exactly what the strategist in you predicted. It is not an apology. It is not a declaration. It is a probe, dipped in the poison of feigned nostalgia. Saw that coffee shop we used to go to today. Made me think of you. Hope you're well. The man you were would have felt a jolt, a surge of adrenaline mixed with a toxic dose of hope. His heart would have hammered against his ribs, his mind racing through 1,000 possible replies, each one a negotiation with his own weakness. That man is dead. You, the architect of his demise, feel nothing. You look at the name, you read the words, and you register them as simple data, an input, a predictable move from a player whose strategy you have long since deciphered. She is not thinking of you. She is thinking of her own power. She has noticed the silence, the void where your desperate energy used to be, and it made her uneasy. This message is her attempt to see if she can still summon you, to see if the servant still answers when the bell is rung. You do not reply. You do not block. You do not delete. You do nothing. You simply place the phone face down and return to your work. You return to building your empire. Hours pass. The day ends. The next day begins. The message sits there, unanswered. A monument to your new reality. Your silence is the answer. It is a response more powerful than any vitriolic text or cold rejection. It says, your communication is not a priority. My world no longer pauses for you. It says, you have been downgraded from a participant to a spectator. This is the moment the cliffhanger of your old life is resolved. The question was never, can you get her back? The question was, can you forge yourself into the man she is terrified to lose, knowing that you have built a life you are no longer willing to sacrifice for anyone? The answer is in your inaction. The answer is in your profound and unshakable indifference. You are not ignoring her to punish her. You are ignoring her because she has become, through your discipline and relentless self-creation, utterly and completely irrelevant. The chessboard between you and her has been overturned, but you did not flip it in a fit of rage. You simply stood up and walked away from the table. You realized you were playing a child's game in a small, dark room, when there was an entire world outside waiting to be conquered. She is still sitting there, staring at the scattered pieces, wondering why you won't make your move, failing to understand that you are no longer in the game. You are not even in the same building. Your victory was not in checkmating the queen. Your victory was in realizing that your time was better spent building a kingdom. Let this be your manifesto. Let this be the doctrine etched into the foundation of the man you are now building. Respect is not given, not requested. It is not negotiated. Respect is a consequence. It is the silent, gravitational pull of a man who has absolute dominion over his own soul. It is imposed by your absence, by the sheer, undeniable weight of a life lived with purpose, a life that does not require an audience. You do not need to announce your worth. Your worth is announced by the empire you build, the body you forge, and the mind you sharpen into a weapon while others are begging for attention. Your silence is not a tactic in her game anymore. It is the operating system of your new world. It is the quiet hum of the forge where you are building your legacy. Every hour you spend in the gym instead of checking her social media is a brick in your fortress. Every dollar you earn through focused, relentless work instead of crafting the perfect text message is another soldier in your army. You are not seeking emotional vengeance. Vengeance is a transaction with the past, and you are no longer concerned with past debts. Your focus is on a future so bright, so powerful, that her memory becomes nothing more than a shadow, incapable of touching the light. She will try again. The probes will become more direct. Getting my messages? I'm worried about you. I miss you. These are the desperate flailings of a deposed monarch, rattling the gates of a castle that no longer recognizes her authority. Let her rattle. You are busy on the throne, planning campaigns she cannot possibly comprehend. Her desire for you now is not born of love. It is born of a panicked need to reclaim a power she took for granted. She saw you as a utility, a source of validation she could tap at will. Now that the tap has run dry, she is dying of thirst. Let her. The ultimate act of power is not to make her suffer, but to make her watch, from an unbridgeable distance, as you become everything she never thought you could be without her. The revenge is not in her pain, but in your ascent. You are not the man she left. You are the man she will have to live with the knowledge that she lost. You are not a chapter in her story. She has become a footnote in yours. If this final command resonates with the new man you have sworn to become, then solidify your allegiance. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion and activate all notifications, for this is not entertainment, it is strategic intelligence. Strike the like button as a salute to the death of your weaker self. And now, for your final orders. The war is won not in a single grand battle, but in the discipline of 1,000 small daily choices. In the comments below, I demand you answer this question. What is the one weak, pathetic habit you will execute, starting tonight, to make room for the discipline of the new man you are becoming? Declare the death of that habit. Your legacy begins with that execution. Remember this, and let it be the last thought you have on the matter. You are not her past. You are the ghost of her future's greatest regret.